How's it going, everyone? Just Goofin would like to introduce and welcome former NFL player, NFL lineman, and Penn State alumni Rich Ohrnberger, currently dominating the sports media all over San Diego. So we've heard and so we've listened. He currently hosts a podcast called The Big Rich, TD, and Fletch Show on iHeartRadio, also works exclusively with Fox Sports Media, and is also a commentator for the San Diego State football team. Rich, welcome to the show. How are you doing? Got a big weekend coming up. Football is back, especially today, September 8th on Thursday. But regardless, how are you doing?
Good to be with you, Les, man. It's really a pleasure for me to be on with you guys today. And yeah, you said it right. I mean, it's an absolutely enormous weekend. Week 2 of the college football season. We got week 1 of the NFL season. I mean, kicking off in 18 minutes. So we've got some action tonight, boys.
Yes.
Super excited. All right, well, let's jump right into it. We just wanted to really know what made you want to get into podcasting and sports media in general.
So I didn't really want to be perfectly honest with you. It was never a goal of mine to be a broadcaster. It wasn't a desire I had. I always enjoyed listening to the radio growing up, sports talk or Howard Stern. I grew up in New York, and so my dad always either had Mike and the Mad Dog on the radio or Howard Stern, and I just really
Mad Dog.
Still
nostalgic
for all these years. Mike Francesa is still doing it, but it's crazy, man. Like I always loved storytelling. I've always loved telling stories, and look, I mean, we're all heading toward a world where everybody's sort of siloed into the podcast that they dig. But if there's one thing that I think really binds us all together pretty consistently, it's sports. And I just love the community that sports gave me as a kid growing up, that I continued collegiately and professionally within. And then, as I was transitioning out of my first career, my first love, which was playing football, I wanted to keep talking football. And the best way to do that is finding a bunch of knuckleheads to talk on sports talk radio with. And I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. I mean, that's just how it works out. People kind of just stem from that since they played, sports all throughout their childhood, high school, and as you said, collegiately and professionally. I mean, Les, kind of has seen it firsthand more than I did in football. And whereas that's where you come from and stuff, but I played a lot of basketball throughout my days, and I wish I wanted to play collegiately and ultimately professionally. That just didn't work out for my height and my size. So
I ball player Ariane. I wanted to be MJ. I grew up watching the '90s Bulls, and I was convinced. I had the tongue out. I was.
Oh man!
Playoffs, man. I thought for sure I was going to be a 6'6" point guard. That did not work out, so I ended up playing some O-line. But I feel your pain.
No. To add on that, both of my brothers are 6'4" and 6'6", and I'm 5'9". So I have a basketball family and a basketball heart, but it's just football kind of called me. It was the only thing that I kind of fit into. It's kind of people pushed me to it in a way. But I was kind of going to ask you, it's kind of difficult for people to find stuff post football, but you seem to make the transition somewhat smoothly. Can you kind of speak on your thought process on okay, this isn't going to last forever. How do I what's my next step? What was your thought process in that?
Okay, so the next step I was unsure of, but the first step was making sure that I secured my future and my family's future financially, because you can make a lot of dough playing football, and I did. I mean, compared to what my parents earned growing up, I mean, this is the sort of life-changing money and wealth that you can really, if you save and you invest correctly, it could change your life. And so that's what I did. I listened to great advice. I surrounded myself with smart people who knew how to handle a lot of the financial obstacles and issues that come with some of these, let's face it, you get handed a signing bonus and you're to put a little cash in your Bank of America account so you can buy toilet paper for your dorm room and really, go out and buy beer with it. But you don't understand. Then you're vaulted into this life in the NFL where all of a sudden you're cashing checks you never thought you would ever see all in one place. So that was step one. It was just making sure that I made smart choices with that money. And then it bought me some time to think. I was a brand new father when I was transitioning out of the NFL. My oldest, who's now,
oh wow,
he was an infant, and I was getting workouts, to get back into the league, but I had already played 6 years. My body was pretty banged up at that point. And at a certain point, I told my wife, I don't want to do it anymore. And I had made some connections within media. And that's where I turned to once I realized maybe I want to just take a look into that world and see if that's something I want to do. So I reached out to those people. One in particular was out here in San Diego, a guy by the name of Jim Laslovic, who was the former sports anchor over at NBC7 in San Diego. And he's a Penn State football.
Shout out Jim.
Yeah, Jim, solid dude. Still keep in touch with him. He's retired playing golf every day on Coronado. So,
Oh man,
we don't want to get started with golf here.
Not Coronado. No, we just recently played Coronado, but we didn't finish because we suck. So
well, Les had a flight to catch. Les is up.
We didn't want to finish. We didn't want to finish. It was going terribly for both of us, and we just had to, stop the bleeding. It was killing our confidence as men. So we had to. On a brighter
note, I did order a new set of irons, and they actually just got here today. So I'm really juiced up about that. But it's about to rain this weekend, so I might not be able to get out there, practice my terrible swing, so called.
Maybe hit the range, but yeah. So Jim was like sort of my entrance into sports media. He let me come on with him pre-draft to talk about what the Chargers might do while they were still here in San Diego in the draft. And I remember my first 3 minutes in front of the camera, it changed my life. I was like, wow, this is fun. That was really fun. And people get paid to do that. And I used to have that. I had a lot of fun getting paid to do. So maybe I ought to take a closer look at this. And he introduced me to a lot of people within the business, local San Diego radio show program directors, and that's how I met the good folks that I work with now at San Diego Sports 760. Within a year, basically, of talking to Jim for the first time about my interests in sports media, I was hosting a radio show. It happened really, really.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty quick turnaround. I mean, it really goes to show, the term, someone, you're going to get somewhere, or it's crazy, especially the networking aspect of it, especially after the NFL. I don't know, I can't name too many NFL players off the top of my head who kind of financially set themselves forward, above others. And whereas, there's certain NBA players like Shaq, I feel like he is the model, professional athlete to how you should go about, getting your paychecks and setting yourself forward for the future. So it's pretty cool that, you kind of went down a similar path.
And it's also just understanding, look, you're never going to be ready for every opportunity. I'm telling you right now, I've been criminally unprepared for every job I've ever held. So totally bad at what I was doing at first. And that goes all the way back to high school when I was first working in a deli, working on a meat slicer, hucking bologna to people on Sundays for their work week. Right? Dude, I was slow. I would get yelled at all the time. You asked me for a half pound, you got 3/4 of the pound coming at you. I don't care. That's
you're the guy, the player.
I'm blowing down the whole line. I mean, football, I sucked at it at first. Broadcasting, I sucked at it at first. And you just have to, first of all, understand where your opportunities are and chase your passions and never be afraid to suck. Because to me, that was, I've almost gotten used to the feeling of embracing it. Trying to enjoy as much as I can those first few moments where you're like, wow, this is going terribly. And I'm just going to have to ride all the way into the sand. And I'm going to get back up and get back out there. So it's.
Hey, it's not about how you start;
Yeah,
it's about how you finish.
Swear, yeah, I swear.
Well, no, that's great. I mean, I feel like you've kind of grown into this like sports media role and just being a broadcaster and getting in front of a camera. You know, I'm sure being comfortable comes over time. You know, hearing your own voice, you know, like on a podcast or like on TV, even, you know, kind of is a culture shock. But I think Les had some questions about, you know, like CTE and like concussion protocols and stuff.
I was going to get to it. What were the protocols? Because I know, like, football, especially at your position, you're O-line, and you also played fullback for a second. It takes a certain mentality to, like, have that constant bang, you know? Like, you're like, it's like a part of the game. It's the nature of the game. And, like, head-to-head contact is, like, just almost mandatory. It's really mandatory. But how did you kind of like deal with it? Like, how did your teams, the teams that you played for, the Chargers, the Cardinals, and the Patriots, how did they deal with like head injuries while you were there, especially at your positions that you were playing?
The rules are consistent across the entirety of the NFL, and especially with sensitive issues like head injuries because of the focus on that these days. Back when I was playing, that's really when the paradigm shifted, where it went from, hey, you know, that guy got his bell rung, to, hey, that guy got hit so hard that he's dazed. He needs to spend some time on the sideline, go talk to the trainers. You know, we need to institute a protocol. We need to potentially let this guy's brain rest and heal for a week or 2 weeks until he clears whatever entry bar that you had to pass to
protocol.
And so it's all changed, and a lot of that changed while I was playing. You know, I was drafted in 2009. I experienced a season-ending concussion, the 2011 season with the Patriots, and I mean, the head trauma was intense. But I will say this: the recovery was the most difficult part of all of it, because you're sort of separated from the sport that you identify with, and it was a difficult road back. But they handle, each team handles it slightly differently, but overall there is
that's what we think
that
too.
They have to adhere to. Yeah.
You think the Patriots might handle it better than, like, let's say the Steelers?
Well,
maybe.
You know what? I don't know if any team has an edge or an advantage, but I do know you're dealing with some of the finest doctors in neurology, orthopedics, even psychology. Like when I was on my road to recovery from the significant concussion that I suffered, I had to meet weekly with a psychologist, and not only would he check in with some of the baseline, you know, things that are a part of that protocol, but it was also just to talk things out, you know, how you were feeling. Like, it was a really important part of the process. And so it doesn't matter who you play with, the Steelers, the Patriots, the Chargers, the Cardinals, the Packers, the Seahawks, you're going to get top of the line medical care, which is provided all throughout your career.
Right. And you can even see it at firsthand too, like with the new Hard Knocks with the Detroit Lions. Like, they're all wearing those super padded helmets now. And, you know, I think that NFL is kind of headed in a direction where they've been taking concussions like very, very seriously, more than, you know, other things. I mean, they even implemented like protecting the quarterback even more now. So I'm sure a lot of it has changed over the years, especially with like the severity of injuries that range from top to bottom.
They're making a lot of accommodations to protect players better, and that, you know, it's some of the things, like you said, advancements in protective equipment, but also you're just not hitting as much. Like when I got in the league, 2009, 2010 training camp, you could go 2 a day after 2 a day after 2 a day for as long as the coach determined. And then they started instituting these protocols where you're only allowed to have a morning practice or an afternoon practice, and then the other practice had to be a walkthrough on a practice. And then you're only allowed to practice once the very next day. So you could never have a 2-a-day practice followed by another 2-a-day practice. That rule changed and was instituted while I was in. And so you're just realizing, or I should say, science and medicine is catching up and realizing football's bad for you. It's an insanely violent sport, and the only way to reduce the consequences of playing football is to play less football. And so
No, okay, so I was gonna ask you, because football is it's my first love. That's like the first thing that I've like really, like, as a human being, like, consciously dedicated myself to and like tried my best at. And I was thinking, like, with that, like, with like what it did for me, like, it definitely made me the person I am today. It instilled work ethic, leadership, and a team aspect. It's definitely involved in it. But like, I don't think I would want my kid to play football. You know, like, you have two boys. Like, how do you feel? Like what's your take on like them playing? Like, do they want to play, or like, how do you feel about them playing the sport that you know that is like way more gruesome than it seems at first?
Les,
It's very glamorous to be super gladiator like.
Oh, let me first by talking about myself, and then I'll talk about my children. But buddy, I 1000% agree with you. It wasn't my first love as a sport, but it became my true love in sport. And I thought at first I was going to be Michael Jordan. That didn't work out. And then I found lacrosse, and I fell in love with that sport. And I thought I was going to play lacrosse in college, and I was good enough to. But then
Max, bro.
And I was like, whoa, this is everything to me. Like, I was the type of guy that really, really appreciated and almost to a certain extent, and I know this probably sounds like psychopathy, but like I enjoyed the contact so much that I felt like even after my career finished, there, like in August, I would feel like this itch behind my forehead.
Yeah.
I want the sensation of contact. It's strange, but it's true. And so I loved it. I loved every aspect of it. I don't regret any of it. And dude, I've had both shoulders shredded up and surgically repaired, a biceps tear off the bone, a collarbone, part of it taken out, knees torn, a back surgery. I mean, I've had it all, but I wouldn't trade a single moment, you know, for the experiences I had and how it built my character, made me the man I am today. In terms of my children,
that's pretty awesome.
I'm a married man, and so my life.
It's not your decision.
We're not going down that route.
Happy wife, happy life.
My life is a partnership now, and we value my wife's opinion, especially when it comes to the safety of our children. And she watched my career, and she was there. You know, she helped put back the pieces when, you know, Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. You know.
Man, yeah.
So she's seen a lot, and she's seen how dangerous this sport can be. She also sees the value that I receive from the sport, and even post career, right? The friendships, the relationships, the career that I've advanced now. It's all part of who I am, but it's going to have to take a lot for her to want her children to participate in that, because like you said, it's gladiatorial. It's a barbarian sport, and I love it. I just love every aspect of it, but that is
right. Cause it's like beautiful at the same time. You know, like, it's like a certain art to like a ball flying through the air, and then like a wide receiver like making like an Odell Beckham Jr. catch. Like, it's those are moments in history, you know, like you just don't get that. Like, it's a feeling that you get. I played defensive end. So it's like sometimes, and I was a special team specialist. I played all special teams all throughout high school. And
there we go, Les.
The blindside hits, they do something for like a man that's like has like pent up aggression. Like when you like just hit somebody and then like the crowd goes ooh ah. It's not a matched feeling to it, other than, you know, the other thing. You know, man.
Also to piggyback on that, I mean, I feel like there is in other sports. I mean, you both seen it firsthand. You guys both have been on the field, like probably played in the trenches. So, but you know, I can't dunk, but I feel like I'd be kind of some of a similar type feeling if I were able to dunk and the crowd would go wild. They're like, hit a game winner, you know? Yeah, stuff like that. Right? I could relate.
You know what the beauty in sport altogether is? And don't get me wrong, like, you know, there's sports that are more, more ruthless than even football. You look at, you know, mixed martial artists and boxers and some of the punishment they endure, wrestlers, collegiate wrestlers. You know, I mean, it really, I mean, you can really play basically as violent of a sport as you want. Football on that spectrum, definitely toward the far end, but basketball, man, I remember there's a very similar feeling to when you are locked in. I don't know what to call it, the zone, whatever.
The flow,
that focus that you feel when the basket looks a mile wide and every shot you put up is going in. Like, you can replicate that in all sports. Sometimes golfers, how they're seeing the actual path on the green that they have, the line that they need to go ahead to tap it in. Like,
I wish I could see that.
Same. I don't. But you hear about certain people who, like, the brain just meshes with the body, and you definitely get it. Almost football, because of how physical it is, it feels like you have to lock into that much sooner. Otherwise you're just going to get your ass kicked all over a football field. But
it's more forceful. Yeah. The whole mindset thing is way more forceful.
You could get there in basketball. You could get there in golf. You could get there in darts if you're taking it seriously enough.
Darts seems way too competitive for me. I don't think I'd be able to show up in front of a crowd.
No, in a bar.
Yeah, seriously. So much pressure. There's women watching you. God, I don't know. So we mentioned the 3 teams that you play for in the NFL. There's a super infamous story. It actually came out pretty recently. You talked about it and you tweeted about it, but we wanted to hear it firsthand. We wanted to get the inside scoop. So we were wondering if you could tell us about the Patriots training camp story. I'll let you finish.
Yeah. So yes, I'll give you the headline first, and then I'll work backwards. I woke up late for a practice day, for a team meeting, a morning meeting, and instead of just showing up without an excuse, I intentionally got into a car accident to get out. So.
The dedication is real here, people.
No. Work smarter, not harder. Come on now.
I woke up in complete panic because I didn't hear the sound of my alarm. I was waking up to, like, the birds chirping. I usually beat the sun to work. Like, I mean, it would be dark before, I rarely saw the sun when I was in New England. But so I wake up, sun shining through the shades. I know I'm late. I hop in the car. I'm just racing to get to work. And when I finally looked down at the clock, when I finally had the heart to look at the clock and see how late I was going to be, I was going to be 10 minutes late. And Bill Belichick, no excuse for late. None.
Oh God.
To make, like, the turn. I see this little old church van. I mean, completely torn up. Dings and dents all over the bumper, all over this thing. It's rusted out. And I'm like, he's in the mind of this bumper, something of a bat. And I put a big old basketball-sized dent in my front bumper. And, we pull up the road, and this little old man who might have been 103 years old comes out. He's got this big white beard. And he's just apologizing to me. And so now I'm like, oh, my God, do not apologize to me. I'm like,
things are going so your way right now.
What a lucky guy.
So
wow.
I talked. Wow, we're there for like 20 minutes. I hand every dollar in my pocket to this guy. I had a couple $100. I mean, I gave him all of the money I had in the car, in my pockets. I emptied my wallet. Like, fix the van, treat yourself to a nice dinner, get yourself something. I don't care. I was like, I just want to thank you. He was like, because I said, do you want my insurance information? He's like, don't worry about it. I just want you to get where you're going safely. And I'm just like, oh my God. So
let's not get insurance involved at all, please, sir. I'm sorry.
To my car as we're talking, and as he's doing that, the skies open up and a torrential New England downpour starts hitting us.
Oh, the classic.
I intend to hit this guy, and now I'm going to he's going to catch pneumonia. I'm basically carried him back to his car. I'm like, stay out of the rain, stay out of the rain. I get to the facility, and they basically asked me, like, Bill's assistant asked me if I was all right. I was saying, yeah, I'm good. I was like, should I go into the meeting room? Should I wait? Big team meeting, right? He goes, no, go into your offensive line room, wait for Dante, my offensive line coach. So I'm like, okay. So I'm waiting there for 40 minutes. That's a long time to think about what you've done, right?
Yeah, he got the meeting for sure.
He's the first one through the door, and he goes, "Hey, Speed Racer, how's it going this morning?" I'm like, "Hey, Dante." I was like, I got into an accident this morning. He goes, "Yeah, I heard about the little fender bender. Yeah, that stinks." He's like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He still hasn't made eye contact with me. Is that the whiteboard, like erasing stuff from the morning meeting with
Oh, no.
Does he know?
Listen here, maybe if you were building computers at IBM or launching rockets with NASA, getting into car accidents, a good excuse. He's like, but around here, we're just on time. And so I was just like, okay, Dante. Yeah, like, so I want you to just wake up early enough. So if you ever have to get into an accident, you just go ahead and use it. And I'm like, okay.
No.
And so it worked, right? It worked. I didn't get fined. I didn't get cut. I stayed with the team, but it felt like the great unknown. Well, at least for me, was
thin ice.
Everybody it out. You know what I mean? It was. And then when I told the story, and it got picked up a bunch of places. I told the story on my radio show initially. It got picked up a bunch of places, and I started having teammates texting me from those years, like, "We knew it was bullshit." It was just.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like,
wow.
Well,
that's awesome. One of the being late to practice heists someone's pulled off before.
Gosh.
Man, that is nuts. I mean, just to follow up with that, that's a crazy story. I don't know if many NFL players could say that they were able to be late to a training camp or like a team meeting, especially for the Patriots under Bill Belichick, and not get cut for one, or not get yelled at. But
they still didn't give. They
didn't
give half a fuck. It was crazy. That's so mean.
The funny thing about it's just accountability, and it's part of the reason why it's hemmed up so tight over there, and they have so much success, because everybody knows the rules and everybody knows you follow them, and it doesn't matter who you are, or they'll find somebody who will and who's talented and who can fill your role. So everybody's on warning all the time, to the extent where how it snows out there in Boston and Foxborough, where the facilities are. If there was a blizzard in the forecast, there was that still wasn't an excuse. I don't care. Bill would. Like, I don't care if the snow plows are coming through your neighborhood or not. You find a way to get here. And if you can't, get a hotel room, because there was one walking distance from our facility.
Right. Patriots place. Yeah.
No excuses.
None.
Yeah. So, Rich, I actually grew up in New England. I grew up in Massachusetts for about 10 years. Born and raised Pats fan. So I've seen them all over the past. Over the past 20 plus years. But yeah, no, I've been to training camps. I've been to games at Gillette. I personally really want to know, how was it like being coached by Bill Belichick, and how was it like playing with Tom Brady? I mean, I just have to know, just being a fan all these years. So I have to know this.
I'll tell you right now, Bill Belichick is the smartest football mind I've ever been around, and that's not overstating it. He has a categorical memory of the history of the sport, of where the sport's heading. He has a finger on the pulse of every player who's currently playing at the collegiate level and the professional level. I mean, he does a lot of the scouting. He relies on a great team that he surrounded himself with, but he is addicted to football, and it shows. And he has been his entire life. It's in his blood. Tom Brady is what you see, what you get. He's a great teammate, so the way he presents himself to the media, it seems like, it's just tip top Tom, like he does everything right. I'm telling you, he does everything right. And he's a great man and a terrific role model. And yeah, I mean, I can't say a single bad thing about the guy. He's a tremendous competitor. It was like having an extra coach on the field, because by the time I got to New England, he had done it 10 years already. And so, what a resource for me as a young offensive lineman to bounce things off him, and he allowed us to. So yeah, two of the brightest football people I've ever spent time with, no question.
No, that's pretty awesome. And as I said, like, I've been to like training camps and stuff, and I've tried to sit relatively close to the bench, and I kind of just feel the aura, and like, and see Bill Belichick like kind of yelling at some linemen even sometimes when I went to like a joint practice with the Bears a while back, and I could just tell they do their job, and like that was kind of a motto for the Pats for a while: do your job, otherwise it's going to be the next man up. And that's how he finds people. That's how he finds people in the late rounds or like early rounds, sleepers like Cole Strange. First round pick. Who knows how good this guy's going to be? But a lot of people are saying like he might be, one of the best rookie linemen to come out of this draft. So yeah, thanks for that. That has really settled my my wonderings. Because who knows how much longer Coach is going to be coaching there. So you also play for.
To be honest, like I'm kind of not on the opposite spectrum of Ariane, but I'm a Raider fan, and I have mixed reviews and feelings about the Tuck rule. To be honest, I think Charles Woodson is the greatest defensive player of all time. To be honest, I think it should have been called in his favor based off of biased opinion. But anyway,
Brady admitted it. He admitted it.
I know
he admitted that it was a fumble.
Too little, too late. Too little, too late. You're supposed to be an honest man in the moment, okay? An honest man in the moment. That's where
if you're getting a Super Bowl out of that, you're getting a Super Bowl out of that.
At all costs. Yeah.
If they're gonna roll with it, you roll with it. That is what I would have handled it this way.
Fair.
Yeah, but
no, I mean, I'm a Raider fan, and it's like the Raiders. I'm not saying that we're like the cleanest team of all time, but I'm just saying, be honest when it's us. I don't know, bro.
So speaking of the Raiders in your division, man, you got the up and coming Chargers. Rich used to play for them. He was you actually played center for them. I think we looked it up.
I played. So I signed with them as a reserve offensive lineman. I ended up starting a good amount of games due to injuries and things like that, and got playing time at center, especially in 2014. Nick Hardwick, who's a buddy and just another one of those awesome people that I've gotten to spend time with during my career. He basically retired after game one due to a neck. Nick had injured himself. Collaboration of years and years and years. He had an 11-year career. And so I was sort of foisted into that starting role, and that's when my back became a real problem for me. And so within, I think it was 6 or 7 starts, I was done. I was toast, and that was where the career ended. But where the AFC West is headed now, Chargers, Herbert in the draft, that was an absolute steal where they got him, because you just think, he fell to them. There were quarterbacks taken before Herbert. And so, good on him for getting him and for having the faith in him, because he's been special. Derek Carr, I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for his whole career. I think he's been surrounded by talent sometimes, other times not. To your less, I think they've righted the ship. They got Devontae, they got Renfro, they got Waller. I think Jacobs is a better back than he's been able to.
Yeah.
But I want to say this:
Josh Jacobs is a good back. Josh Jacobs is a really
course
good
he is.
Back.
He's a Bama back. Like come on. What more can you ask for? But I wanted to say this.
Yeah.
I have my own separate opinions on Patrick Mahomes. I think he's not as focused as he should be, but that's another conversation for another day. But I want to give you my opinion on Derek Carr. I solely think he's still a Raiders quarterback because he's a good guy and he's like super buddy with like the owners and like the higher ups and stuff. I don't think he has some numbers. But he's just never there when we need him. He's never there when we need him. He reminds me so much of Tony Romo, and I don't like Tony Romo, but Tony Romo is like he's like a figure in football because he played for the Cowboys, and like when he was hot, Like I think when like Derek Carr gets on, he's top 5, but like we'd much rather have consistency than like a spark. He's a good spark. He's not a fucking flame. We want a flame, yo.
You could have had Tom Brady, man. That's what Dana White said. You could have had Tom Brady and Gronk, but hey, the Bucs can get a chip out of it. I don't know about the Bears.
I love Derek Carr's game. I really do. I think he's a great leader. I think he's a tremendous football IQ. He knows where to go with the football. Derek Carr, I think has played with a franchise who at times have really, unfortunately, just not had enough around him to chase a title down. But I think that's all changed. I really do. Now, outside of their offensive line, which is still a huge question mark entering this season, there's weapons everywhere you look. This is a much improved defense. I thought last year they showed a ton of heart. This offense, like we talked about, their weapons and their firepower. Josh McDaniels, man, with a great receiving threat at tight end like Waller, who's a willing blocker. And then you have a guy like Renfro, who looks the part, the Wes Welker, Julian Edelman part. And then you have a guy
Dola
defense like Devontae Adams. I mean, this offense, if all parts stay healthy, and you can't assume health, but you wish you could. Oh man, I think the Raiders are going to make some serious noise. You want my hottest take? My hottest take, Derek.
Well, what's up?
Yes, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Talk to me nice, Rich. Talk to me nice.
MVP this season. How about that?
Let's go,
Richie Rich with a hot take. I highly doubt it.
Rich.
Meanwhile, the score of the Bills-Rams game is 7-0. I feel like fucking Allen just did something special. I don't know who scored.
Yeah, Gabe Davis. It was Gabe Davis. You know, everyone's been hearing about Gabe Davis, but wow, no, that's not a. I could see it. I could see it if they end up winning the AFC West.
I can't see it as a fan. I can't see it as a fucking fan. How do you see it? He's never there when you need him. He's always injured when it's the most important part of the season, and he only does checkdowns. That's when his numbers come into play. He gets checkdowns from his star running backs he keeps getting that he can do nothing with.
Let's lay this out for it.
Okay, I have trauma. I was born and raised in the Raider Nation. I have trauma. I'm sorry. This is. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He had his one MVP year, and then he got hurt, right? And then they didn't end up making the playoffs that year.
And then fume.
But it's not Derek Carr's fault. Derek Carr now has a great coach in Josh McDaniels. Hopefully, Josh doesn't run the similar Pats style offense that he did, just halfback out routes to Brandon Bolden.
That's why we picked him up, because that's the only thing that Derek Carr's good at. It's fucking out routes from the running back. That's the only thing he's good at is out routes.
But now,
come on,
let's hear him out.
The best, one of the best fan bases in all of the NFL is this Pat.
I'm here.
I mean, yeah. I mean, look, that to me, that's as much a part of it as anything we're doing on the field. Is whether or not there's people who care at home watching that keeps the lights on and all these big things. So, buddy, I love it, and I'll tell you right now, Derek Carr is going to prove you very wrong this season.
Wow,
that's from
awesome.
The bottom of my heart, I hope you're right, because this is literally, I am no analysis, I have no professional. This is literally his last straw. I guarantee it. I guarantee if he doesn't do something with a Patriots GM and a Patriots offensive coordinator and a number one wide receiver and a great running back, it's him, then he's the fucking problem. And we're in a Jamarcus Russell situation again. And I can't live with it. I won't have my child go through this. I swear to God, I will fucking sue. I will fucking sue.
I will report back to you. I'm going to the Patriots the Patriots Raiders game. I'll see how that ends up. It's basically Patriots 2.0 versus the old school Patriots.
That's also smart with scheduling. They just do such a good job with this stuff. And some of it, like, obviously they can't predict, because you don't know where players going to land, but some of it feels like, how did they get it so right, including this opener tonight, which I'm sure you guys are running to get to watch some of. So I appreciate your time today and having me on the show, man. This was a blast. You guys are awesome. I appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for joining. This is honestly a huge favor for us, yo. We're truly honored, yo. We couldn't ask for a better first guest of the season. Honestly, thank you.
Yeah, no, this is honestly, it was a pleasure. We also thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad I met you, through Matt Armstrong and his family. Rich literally lives right down there on the bay, and I've seen him out there a couple of times hanging out with his family. So again, Rich, awesome NFL player, awesome collegiate player, sports broadcaster, sports everything. Thanks again for coming on, and we appreciate your time. Hopefully we can collab again soon.
Nah, we're going to see you at the People's Choice Podcast Awards one day. I promise you, man.
We'll see you at the top.
Hey, if we do, we will thank you in the speech.
Acceptance speech,
foremost.
for sure.
We will. You were first and foremost in our thanks, man. Thank you. I appreciate you being you and doing what you do, man. Appreciate you.
All right, Rich. We'll be tuning in. Have a good one.